Draymond's most controversial, Kobe take. Draymond Green may have said the one thing guaranteed to divide basketball fans: there is no Mamba mentality. In his view, the idea has become nothing more than a phrase players repeat after hitting one big shot. The moment those words left his mouth, the debate exploded. This was not a random argument. It was a four-time NBA champion publicly questioning one of basketball's most respected legacies. Kobe Bryant built his reputation on discipline, sacrifice, preparation, and an obsession with improvement. Yet Draymond dismissed the label attached to all of it, as if fans had created a myth bigger than the man himself. But here's where the story becomes uncomfortable. Sitting beside Draymond was Shaquille O'Neal, the teammate who won 3 straight championships with Kobe. Shaq once described Kobe as alien, remembered him training for hours and practicing imaginary moves without a ball. So, how could the same man who witnessed that obsession agree it was not real? Charles Barkley never needed to answer Draymond directly. For years, he had already made his position clear. Barkley called Kobe's shot-making unstoppable greatness. He ranked Kobe among the greatest ever and placed him ahead of LeBron James until LeBron added another championship. To Barkley, Kobe was not a slogan. He was proof of what relentless preparation could create. Kobe's own words make the debate harder to dismiss. He said, "Mamba mentality meant trying every day to become the best version of yourself." It was not about attention or repeating a catchphrase. It was an endless pursuit of improvement, built through habits nobody saw and pressure moments everyone remembered. So was Draymond exposing a fake image, or did he confuse the people repeating Kobe's words with the man who actually lived them? Tell us where you are watching from. Comment 1 if you believe Mamba mentality was real, or 2 if you think Draymond had a point. Subscribe now, because the evidence coming next changes this debate completely. Charles Barkley's silent answer. Charles Barkley never needed to sit across from Draymond Green and launch a direct attack. His answer had already been delivered years earlier, one interview at a time, whenever Kobe Bryant's name entered the conversation. Barkley is not known for giving praise easily. He challenges stars, criticizes legends, and rarely softens his opinions for television. Yet when he spoke about Kobe, his tone changed. He called Kobe's shot-making greatness because there was no cleaner word for it. Defenders could force him into difficult angles, crowd his space, and contest every release. But Barkley's point remained the same. Great defense does not always stop a great player. That respect went beyond highlights. Barkley once placed LeBron James one step behind Kobe and said another championship might be needed before he moved LeBron ahead. Whether fans agreed or not, the ranking showed how highly he valued Kobe's 5 titles, 20 seasons with one franchise, and reputation under pressure. Barkley also believed Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal could have won close to 10 championships if their partnership had survived. That was recognition of how rare the combination had been. Shaq's power beside Kobe's preparation and late-game fearlessness. His most important evidence was personal. After Barkley harshly criticized Kobe following a playoff loss, Kobe reportedly contacted him for hours, furious and determined to defend himself. When they met again, Kobe admitted Barkley had been right. That moment revealed both sides of him: pride strong enough to fight back, and humility strong enough to reconsider. So while Draymond questioned whether the mentality was real, Barkley had already experienced it directly. He saw the obsession, the sensitivity to criticism, and the refusal to ignore a challenge. His silence was not weakness. His history with Kobe had already answered the question, what Mamba mentality really meant. The biggest mistake in this debate is treating Mamba mentality like a magical phrase. Kobe Bryant never described it that way. In Kobe's own explanation, it meant trying to become the best version of yourself every day. Not for one game, one season, or until people started applauding. It was a constant pursuit with no finish line. That definition changes the argument. Draymond Green was criticizing people who use the phrase after one dramatic moment, as if a clutch shot suddenly proves they possess Kobe's mindset. On that point, he touched something real. The words have often been separated from the work. Social media turned a demanding personal standard into an easy caption. People wanted the identity without paying the cost. But that does not make the mentality fake. It proves how badly it has been misunderstood. Kobe admitted the phrase itself began casually while he was experimenting with social media. It was not created through a carefully planned campaign. Yet the habits behind it existed long before the label. The phrase came later. The discipline came first. That distinction matters because Kobe's life was not built around branding. It was built around repetition. He studied, trained, failed, adjusted, and returned with more information. Even after championships, scoring records, and global fame, he continued searching for another detail to master. Mamba mentality never meant pretending to be Kobe. It meant accepting responsibility for your own growth. A student could live it through study, an artist could live it through practice. A young player could live it by improving one weakness instead of chasing attention. So the question is not whether the phrase became overused. It clearly did. The question is whether overuse erased the standard Kobe lived by. It did not. A slogan can be copied in seconds. A standard has to be proven over years. Kobe's legacy was not created by the words people repeated after he became famous. It was created by what he did when nobody was watching. The obsession nobody saw. Kobe Bryant did not prepare like a player hoping talent would carry him. He prepared like someone searching for every hidden advantage the game could offer. Most stars study film. Kobe studied systems. He broke down defensive coverages, individual habits, foot placement, timing, angles, and the way opponents reacted under pressure. He wanted to know what a defender preferred before that defender realized Kobe had noticed it. Then he went further. Kobe explained that he read the officials' rulebook to learn where referees were supposed to stand during specific moments. He studied their positioning and sight lines. It was not enough to understand the 5 defenders in front of him. He wanted to understand the entire environment surrounding the possession. That level of preparation sounds excessive until the game reaches its final second. In those moments, one detail becomes everything. A defender leaning the wrong way creates a lane. A help defender arriving late opens a passing angle. A referee standing behind the play changes what can be seen. Kobe trained himself to recognize those details because he had already examined them in silence. He also mastered Phil Jackson's triangle offense. He learned how each movement connected, where spacing would appear, and how a broken possession could still become an opportunity. He did not simply memorize plays. He studied why they worked. By the time fans saw him rise for a difficult fadeaway, thousands of invisible decisions had already happened. He knew the defender's balance, the clock, the help position, and the space he needed to release the ball. The shot looked spontaneous. The preparation was anything but spontaneous. This is what people miss when they repeat Mamba Mentality after one exciting play. The famous moment was only the final product. The real mentality lived in empty gyms, film rooms, notebooks, and hours spent studying details most players ignored. Kobe did not wait for pressure to reveal who he was. He built himself long before pressure arrived. The pain that created Kobe's fire. Kobe Bryant's obsession did not begin with trophies. It began with isolation. Growing up away from the United States, Kobe often felt different from the people around him. He spoke about being overlooked, left out, and not fully accepted. For some young athletes, that creates insecurity. For Kobe, it created a target. Basketball became the place where he could answer every doubt without asking for permission. He could not control whether people accepted him, but he could control how prepared he became. He could not force others to understand him, but he could become impossible to ignore. That emotional foundation explains why competition felt so personal. Kobe revealed that by the age of 13, he kept track of players he wanted to challenge and outperform. The language sounded intense, but the meaning was clear. He remembered who had dismissed him, who had beaten him, and who stood between him and the player he wanted to become. Every matchup became evidence. If someone was stronger, Kobe studied strength. If someone was faster, he worked on timing. If a defender stopped one move, he returned with another. The goal was not simply revenge against an opponent, it was revenge against the version of himself that had once been unprepared. That is why criticism affected him so deeply. Barkley's harsh comments after a playoff game did not disappear when the broadcast ended. Kobe carried them into the night because criticism touched the same wound that had driven him since childhood. Yet the most powerful part came later, when Kobe admitted Barkley had been right. His competitive fire did not erase self-awareness. It forced him to confront the truth once the emotion settled. Mamba Mentality was not born in a marketing office. It grew from a young person's need to belong, prove himself, and transform loneliness into purpose. Before the championships, the 8-1 point game, and the legend, there was a kid determined to make sure nobody could overlook him again. When pressure felt like breathing, Kobe Bryant never claimed he was immune to pressure. He simply prepared until pressure had nowhere new to take him. His explanation was simple. If a player has practiced the same shot hundreds or thousands of times, then taking it in a major game should feel like one more repetition. The crowd may be louder and the consequences greater, but the movement itself is familiar. That familiarity was Kobe's calm. Fans saw him take impossible shots and assumed confidence was something he had been born with. But in Kobe's system, confidence was evidence. It came from knowing how many times he had already performed the movement in an empty gym. It came from knowing he had studied while others guessed and prepared for situations that had not happened yet. That is why his biggest moments often looked ordinary to him. A final possession in the playoffs might feel historic to everyone watching, but Kobe had already imagined the clock, the defender, the angle, and the release. When reality arrived, he was not inventing an answer. He was recognizing a pattern. This also explains one of his most famous reactions during the NBA Finals. The Lakers held a 2-game advantage, but Kobe showed almost no satisfaction. Asked why he was not happy, he made the message clear. The job was not finished. That moment revealed his internal standard. Progress was not completion. A lead was not a title. One victory did not erase the work still required. Many players celebrate the proof that they are close. Kobe focused on the distance remaining. The shot itself was never the mentality. The thousands of unseen repetitions were the mentality. The willingness to return the next morning was the mentality. Pressure became manageable because preparation gave it structure. Kobe did not allow one great performance to convince him the mission was complete, and he did not allow one failure to convince him the mission was impossible. The spotlight only revealed what the darkness had already built. Shaq's uncomfortable contradiction. No voice makes this debate more complicated than Shaquille O'Neal's. Shaq knew Kobe better than almost anyone in basketball. They fought, dominated, separated, and eventually repaired their relationship. Together, they won 3 straight championships and became one of the most powerful duos the league had ever seen. That is why Shaq's agreement with Draymond felt so surprising. At one point, Shaq appeared to support the idea that Mamba mentality had become exaggerated or was never truly separate from Kobe himself. But across years of interviews, Shaq repeatedly described the exact habits people mean when they use that phrase. He remembered Kobe training for 6 hours a day. He described an 18-year-old sitting in the locker room, practicing movements and imaginary shots without a basketball. No fans were watching, no cameras were creating a commercial. Kobe was rehearsing possibilities because he was obsessed with becoming the best. Shaq even called him alien. That word matters. Shaq had played with Hall of Famers, champions, and some of the most gifted athletes on earth. Yet Kobe's work habits still appeared abnormal to him. Shaq wanted to be the most dominant. Kobe wanted to master everything. The reasonable explanation is that Shaq may have rejected the way the phrase is used today, not the discipline Kobe possessed. He may have been criticizing imitation or the belief that saying the words gives someone Kobe's identity, but to many fans, it sounded like the witness was denying his own testimony. Every story Shaq told strengthened the case. He saw Kobe work before the championships, before the mythology, and before the phrase became famous. He witnessed the behavior first and watched the label arrive later. That makes Shaq both a critic and one of the strongest pieces of evidence. Maybe he did not believe the mentality needed a special name, but his own memories proved the standard behind that name was real. The players who witnessed the truth? Kobe Bryant's reputation was not created by social media, documentaries, or fans trying to protect a legend. Long before Mamba mentality became a global phrase, the players who shared the court with him were already telling the same story. They called him relentless. They called him obsessive. Some even called him alien. Those descriptions came from elite athletes who had spent their entire lives around competition. These were not people easily impressed by an early workout or one difficult shot. They had practiced with Hall of Famers, competed against champions, and witnessed some of the most gifted players in basketball history. Yet Kobe's preparation still felt unusual to them. Several opponents described him as the closest player their generation had seen to Michael Jordan. That comparison was never based only on similar footwork or fadeaway jumpers. It came from the way Kobe studied weaknesses, remembered every challenge, and approached ordinary possessions as if they carried championship consequences. One former opponent remembered realizing that Kobe had been preparing for a specific moment years before it actually happened, not 3 days earlier. Not after seeing the matchup on the schedule. Years earlier. That was the frightening part. Most players prepare for the opponent standing in front of them. Kobe prepared for possibilities that had not arrived yet. He collected moves, counters, angles, and information, then stored them until the right moment appeared. By the time a defender understood what Kobe was attempting, Kobe had already rehearsed the answer countless times. His teammates saw an even more intense version behind closed doors. Practices were not casual sessions to Kobe. They were examinations. He tested teammates to discover who would continue competing when tired, frustrated, or embarrassed. He wanted to know who would fight through discomfort and who would disappear when the game became difficult. Players who stood their ground earned his respect. Players who backed away often struggled to regain it. That leadership style was not always gentle, and it was not always easy to accept. Kobe could demand more than some teammates believed they could give. His intensity sometimes created tension, fear, and emotional distance. Greatness does not automatically make every method perfect. But even the teammates who disagreed with him rarely questioned the work behind his demands. Kobe never asked others to meet a standard he refused to meet himself. He arrived early, stayed late, studied longer, and returned after failure with another plan. That consistency is what makes Draymond Green's argument so difficult to defend completely. One story can become exaggerated. One teammate can remember an event incorrectly. But when opponents, coaches, trainers, and teammates from different stages of Kobe's career describe the same habits, a clear pattern appears. The discipline was real. The obsession was real. The preparation was real. And it did not disappear when Kobe left basketball. After retiring, he entered storytelling and filmmaking, an industry where his 5 championships and scoring records could not guarantee success. Instead of relying on his name, he approached the new craft like another opponent. He studied, collaborated, refined his work, and eventually won an Academy Award for Dear Basketball. The arena had changed, but the standard remained. That may be the strongest evidence of all. Mamba Mentality was not simply a basketball strategy, it was Kobe's approach to learning, failure, creativity, and personal growth. When one career ended, the behavior continued. The witnesses did not all admire every part of Kobe's personality. Some clashed with him, some felt pushed too hard. Others only understood his methods years later. But nearly all of them described the same fire. And when that many people witness the same standard, dismissing it as a slogan becomes almost impossible. Saying it is not the same as living it, Draymond Green's criticism was not completely wrong. That is what makes this debate more complicated than a simple argument between respect and disrespect. Over the years, Mamba Mentality has been repeated so often that its meaning has sometimes become almost empty. A player makes one difficult shot and immediately mentions Kobe. A celebrity posts the phrase after completing a project. Companies place it on clothing, advertisements, and motivational graphics. The words became easy to use. The standard behind them remained incredibly difficult to follow. Draymond appeared to be attacking that gap. He was questioning people who wanted the identity without accepting the sacrifice. In that sense, his frustration was understandable. One clutch basket does not prove years of discipline. One emotional speech does not create consistency. Repeating Kobe's language does not automatically produce Kobe's preparation. But Draymond crossed the line when his criticism seemed to suggest that the mentality itself was not real. There is a major difference between saying a philosophy has been commercialized and saying the philosophy never existed. One argument challenges imitation. The other ignores the documented habits of the person who created the standard. Kobe did not become a legend because he invented a memorable phrase. The phrase became powerful because Kobe had already spent years building evidence behind it. He studied when nobody was watching. He practiced movements until they became instinctive. He searched for weaknesses in his own game before opponents could expose them. When criticism made him angry, he eventually examined whether the criticism contained truth. That last part is often forgotten. Mamba Mentality was not simply about working harder than everyone else. Blind effort without adjustment can become wasted energy. Kobe's greatness came from combining effort with analysis. He did not repeat the same mistake and call it dedication. He studied the failure, changed the approach, and returned with a better answer. That is the difference between obsession and purposeful preparation. There is also a dangerous way to misunderstand Kobe's example. Some people treat his mentality as permission to ignore rest, health, relationships, and emotional balance. They glorify exhaustion and believe suffering automatically produces greatness. But that interpretation reduces a complex philosophy to another shallow slogan. The most valuable lesson is not that everyone must train for 6 hours or attack every teammate. The lesson is that improvement requires honesty, repetition, discipline, and patience. It means accepting that talent is only the beginning and that meaningful progress happens long before the public result. Kobe's path should inspire people to pursue excellence, not destroy themselves trying to imitate every detail of another person's life. That is why the debate cannot end with deciding whether Draymond was respectful. The deeper question is whether modern culture still understands the difference between performing motivation and practicing discipline. Posting a phrase is performance. Returning to work after failure is discipline. Talking about sacrifice is performance. Building a routine and following it when motivation disappears is discipline. Celebrating one dramatic moment is easy. Preparing for that moment for years is something entirely different. Draymond may have correctly identified the people who borrowed Kobe's language without living by his standard. But those imitators do not disprove the original. In many ways, they reveal how rare the original truly was. Shaq's stories prove the habits existed. Barkley's experiences prove Kobe could not ignore criticism or competition. Opponents' memories prove he prepared for moments years in advance. Kobe's own words prove he viewed improvement as an endless pursuit. The evidence does not say that everyone who mentions Mamba Mentality understands it. The evidence says Kobe did. And that creates the final distinction. Millions can repeat a standard, but only behavior reveals who is actually living by it. Job's not finished? The clearest answer to the entire debate did not come from Draymond Green, Shaquille O'Neal, or Charles Barkley. It came from Kobe Bryant during one of the biggest moments of his career. The Los Angeles Lakers had taken a 2-game lead in the NBA Finals. They were halfway to a championship, momentum was on their side, and reporters expected Kobe to show at least some satisfaction. He did not. When asked why he was not happy, Kobe responded with a question of his own. Job finished? The answer was no. That short exchange became one of the most powerful moments of his career because it revealed the philosophy without needing to explain it. Kobe was not performing toughness for attention. He was not celebrating progress as if it were completion. The mission had a specific ending, and until the Lakers reached it, the work continued. That was Mamba mentality in its purest form. It was not the phrase spoken after a game-winning shot. It was the refusal to become distracted before the final result. It was the ability to respect progress without allowing progress to create complacency. Strategically, Kobe's approach offers several important lessons. First, preparation reduces fear. Pressure feels overwhelming when a person enters a situation without enough experience. Kobe repeated movements, studied possibilities, and imagined difficult moments before they arrived. When the real moment appeared, he was not meeting a stranger. He was recognizing something familiar. Second, confidence must be built on evidence. Kobe's confidence did not come only from positive thinking. It came from hours of practice, technical understanding, and detailed preparation. He trusted himself because he knew what he had already done. Third, criticism can become information. Kobe did not enjoy being challenged, and his emotional reactions were sometimes intense. But his ability to later admit Barkley had been right showed something important. Pride may protect a competitor in the moment, but growth requires enough humility to reconsider. Fourth, success depends on systems more than temporary motivation. Motivation rises and disappears. Routines remain. Kobe created habits that continued after victories, failures, praise, and criticism. That consistency separated him from players who could become inspired for one night but could not maintain the standard for years. Still, Kobe's story should be understood with balance. His intensity made him great, but greatness should never be used as an excuse to treat people without compassion. Competition can strengthen teammates, but it can also damage relationships when respect disappears. The most humane interpretation of Mamba mentality is not endless aggression. It is the peaceful decision to direct your energy toward personal improvement rather than resentment, jealousy, or hatred. You do not need to defeat another person to become better than you were yesterday. You do not need to humiliate someone to prove your commitment, and you do not need to copy Kobe's exact routine to learn from his example. The real lesson is to discover your own standard, build healthy habits around it, and continue improving without losing your humanity. Draymond was right that hitting one shot and repeating Kobe's words does not create Mamba mentality. Shaq was right when he described Kobe as different from almost every athlete he had witnessed. Barkley was right when he called Kobe's performances greatness. All three viewpoints lead toward the same conclusion. The phrase was never the most important part. The work gave the phrase meaning. Kobe's 5 championships, legendary scoring performances, countless hours of preparation, and success after basketball were not created by branding. They came from a repeated decision to pursue excellence even after the world had already declared him successful. That is why his legacy continues to matter. Mamba mentality does not ask people to become Kobe Bryant. It asks them to stop hiding from the work required to become their strongest, wisest, and most disciplined selves. So now the decision belongs to you. Comment 1 if you believe Mamba mentality was a real standard that Kobe lived every day. Comment 2 if you believe Draymond Green made a fair point and the phrase has become more mythology than reality. Tell us where you are watching from and what Kobe Bryant's legacy means to you. Like this video, share it with another basketball fan, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the NBA's biggest debates, untold stories, and legendary careers. Because admiration is easy, repetition is easy, talking about greatness is easy. Living by a standard when nobody is watching is the difficult part. And until the mission is complete, the job is not finished.